You're not just getting the task accomplished, it's not just transactional, but it can become transformational as you build the relationships of trust.
It's Wednesday, and the window is open. In this extended conversation, Dr. Jeanne Porter King and Dr. Carla discuss how young professionals build meaningful networks. Let's listen in.
Now, a lot of young people are coming into the workforce and they have gone through COVID and maybe even flex work where they have been on their own and working as an individual. Coming into this workplace, how do they build that social network? Like, really, what are the steps to doing it?
Yeah, those steps, using your phrase earlier, sometimes, there's no cookie cutter. I've worked with people now who are totally remote. But that's, yeah, so let's start there. Totally remote. So they've got to find a way, if their decisions they're making and that they're part of the organization's decisions, that they've got to find their network somehow. They're not going to network the way, we may have in the past, going to lunch, if they're in a town, thousands of miles away, but they've got to be able to pick up the phone, have, coffee virtually, if you will, find ways in which they're getting that support. I just talked to a woman yesterday who, because of COVID, they moved when, work was totally remote. She now is being asked to come back into work and has a 2 hour commute, which I think is, whew, one thing we know that during, this pandemic, we did not have those commutes and we felt a lot better. We didn't have the stress. But I said, well, I wonder why, for what you do, um, could you not find something closer to home? And she said, well, and she began to describe the relationships she's had and some of the times that she might have to flex. And you can't garner that or build that up overnight. Those are about long-term relationships that even for the period that they were remote, she kept those relationships going through phone calls, Zoom calls, or what have you, right? And so working remotely, you've got to do it. Secondly, now that many young people, especially, are back in the office, you've got to um, get up off of your cubicle and go talk to that person in another cubicle rather than send them an email. I just read a study that AI is taking over a number of jobs, but the ones they can't take over are those in which there needs to be that human touch. And that's where we're going to distinguish ourselves when we keep that human touch. So I have someone that I manage that has a tendency to send texts and emails. And I said, I know that's efficient, but can you pick up the phone sometime and call that person, because you're not just getting the task accomplished. It's not just transactional, but it can become transformational as you build the relationships of trust. So
Yeah.
I think that's how young people have to do it. And I'm seeing a number of young people doing it well.
Yeah. One person I coached was really struggling with feeling like an introvert and being offered to go to all these different networking events. And this person was really holding back because it was very uncomfortable to them. And I think that that could be a challenge for a lot of people out there, no matter what age bracket they're in. But sometimes we just feel like, gosh, that just takes all the energy to go to these networking events. What would you say the priority is on that? Is it really important to do that?
Well, you notice when I talked about what do they do, I talked about maybe picking up the phone, building those one-on-one relationships. Sometimes that's a little better for people who feel a little more introverted, or feel that's their preference. I think social networking events play a role. But we also know from the work of Dr. Herminia Ibarra, she's like the premier expert on social networks. We know that there's some gendered differences in building your network. So women, once they get into childbearing ages, they don't have the capacity or time, trying to do, again, with that emotional labor you talked about earlier. They may not have the time to go to all the networking events. And a lot of these networking events are just starting again, after we had this kind of 3, 4 year drought with COVID. So she talks about number one, prioritizing that you can't go to everything. What can you go to? And where is there an alignment with, say, your skill set and your career goals? So that's the organization that you become a part of. And perhaps you even work toward getting involved in the leadership or the planning, but you don't try to do every networking event, but you get very intentional about the one or two that you're a part of and prioritize when you need to show up. So I always thought that was helpful. I have one that I've been invited to in 2 weeks, and I've invited a friend of mine to go. And that's the other thing that you can do. Again, if you can put it in your schedule, but don't go along, go alone. You number one have somebody there that's kind of a support, but you're also introducing them to a new network and introducing your network to another person. So that partnering you talk about, begin to have some cross fertilization with your networking also.
Yeah, I see how that could be very valuable.